The release of our latest video featuring animal liberation activists from multiple marginalized groups has sparked some outrage in the community. Since people in the animal rights movement seem to prefer to listen to white cis males, let's hear from a white cis male of Collectively Free what he has to say. So introducing Chris. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but you identify as a cisgender heterosexual male, born and raised citizens of the United States?
Yes, that is all true.
All right, so let's start with the questions. So when you first heard that we were shooting the video and we did not invite you, did you feel rejected or feel like it was being unfair to white cis males by not including any?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, if you think about the history of the United States and history of the animal rights movement, you'll see white men everywhere. So, you know, if we're not featured in one short video, I think I can survive that.
Okay, great. So when you first watched the video, were you confused at all by the fact that there wasn't a representation of people like yourself?
I think the point of the video was to demonstrate that there are groups of marginalized people that are fighting certain isms for themselves, discriminations that they're suffering through, and then they also are fighting for animals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something that white men, animal right activists can't maybe relate to. I mean, we're fighting for animals, but not having to deal with a lot of the same isms that others are having to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, but did you feel like this video was basically saying that you or anyone else who looks like you can't be a part of the animal liberation movement?
No, I don't think that I didn't get anything like that from it. I would say that if I did, that would demonstrate some serious fragility on my part.
Well, Dr. Robin DiAngelo, a white critical racial and social justice scholar, has described the discomfort some white people have towards talking about racism as white fragility. Since white people often grow up in environments where discussing race is seen as taboo, some react defensively when the topic of racism comes up. Dr. DiAngelo says this manifests itself as outward displays of emotions, such as anger, fear, and guilt, and behaviors such as argumentation, silence, and leaving the stress-inducing situation.
So it's not like you felt angry or anything because activists weren't saying, I am white in the video.
No. We're talking about this society that we live in where the default is white. You know, the standards for beauty, the standards for excellence are always framed in whiteness. So we don't need to put that out there everywhere all the time. White people can step aside for a moment.
Are you offended by the video description that says that the faces shown are not the faces that appear typically in a vegan brochure? Because a lot of people seem to have been offended by that.
Oh, really? Because they feel that a lot of vegan brochures are more diverse than they actually are? Is that what you're saying?
A lot of people seemed like it was that, right? Mm-hmm. And the other comments were like, why would vegan brochures have people if it's supposed to be about animals?
Right.
But then we did a little research and then we actually found out that pretty much all the vegan brochures feature people.
Yeah, they do. And I would say to that if you look at these brochures put out by the large mainstream animal rights organizations, they are very much predominantly white. And so I think for white people who haven't educated themselves on pro-intersectionality, they may see a brochure that has one Black person and one Hispanic person out of 20 and say, look, it's obviously diverse. We're obviously doing it right. Because they have just come from their whole life thinking that that's what normal looks like.
Very well said.
Well said. I guess we skipped this one.
Yeah.
So, don't you think that the animal rights activism will be so much more effective if we stopped wasting time focusing on stuff like race, gender, ability, etc., which are human issues, and instead focus only on the animals?
No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I think we're I think if we're gonna do that, I mean that's a way that I think business has been run. If we want to continue to have an all-white, male-dominated movement, I think that's a perfectly good idea. But if we want to be inclusive and bring people in, then we don't want to be just reaching out to white people with the theme that it's all about the animals and we shouldn't be concerned with any other issues.
Shouldn't we just all stand together and see beyond this made up differences? We're all humans after all. Isn't it just easier to pretend that those things don't exist?
Right. Well, it's if you are a white, especially a white cisgender male, wow, it's very easy to pretend those things don't exist. And I think about like these posts you'll see on Facebook where there's a controversy and there's back and forth, and you have white men saying, we're in a post-racial society. We need to stop. You're the one creating these racism, and by being controversial and having this back and forth, and in that same thread, a person of color will be like, you're not listening to me, and I don't feel welcome because of it. And so, we shouldn't be just ignoring other injustices to make ourselves as white people feel more comfortable.
But like, you surely have, at least one friend who's from a minority group who disagrees with the video and who thinks that animals should come first. Like, shouldn't you just listen to them?
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know that person. Person I don't know.
You don't have that friend?
I don't have that friend. Maybe I need more friends. I don't know.
Not that kind.
Yeah. Can you talk about those things called white privilege and male privilege? Aren't those just propaganda words from the left in order to undermine everything that is this great country is about?
Well, when I talk about this, I do want to be a little humble and admit that for years and years and years, I was painfully unaware of the privileges that I was benefiting from. Only in the last year or two, really, have I been learning more and more about how lucky it is that I was born a white man. And I have experienced all these privileges that other people don't get. So it's very real. It's very damaging. We should be working to dismantle it. I'm not quite sure if I answered the question though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought your own experience into it.
Yeah. So you don't think it's propaganda? You think it's actually real?
Oh, it's real, and I mean it's obviously real. I mean, you can just think about how it is as a white person being pulled over by the police. The concern that you don't have compared to somebody who's especially a black person. They're worried anytime they to get. In fact, there's a video that's heartbreaking, where black parents, are talking to their children about what to do if they are pulled over.
I watched that one too. We can link to it.
So yeah, they I don't have to have that. The discussion I have with my sons looks very different.
Yeah. Whew. I know. Heavy.
Yep.
All right. So this is the second time that, we at CF have made such big public claims that the mainstream animal rights movement is led by white men. We wore those shirts at the AR conference last year that said #AR2White. And now we're not including white people in our video. Isn't that reverse racism?
Reverse racism. Yeah. Yeah, we've heard that before, right? Reverse racism. There's another video that would really address this that I can send you all if you want to.
I could be a reverse racist if I wanted to. All I would need would be a time machine, right? And what I'd do is I'd get in my time machine, I'd go back in time to before Europe colonized the world, right? And I'd convince the leaders of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Central and South America to invade and colonize Europe, right? Just occupy them, steal their land and resources, set up some kind of trans-Asian slave trade where we exported white people to work on giant rice plantations in China. Just ruin Europe over the course of a couple of centuries so all their descendants would want to migrate out and live in the places where black and brown people come from.
Doesn't the video basically say that white people should stop advocating for non-humans? Do you think that non-human beings being slaughtered right now care about what color our skin is?
I think that sounds like that goes back to white fragility. That if people are so turned off by your video that they're going to take their toys and go home with them, stomp out of the room and go home, then that's on them. They need to do some reflection, some self-reflection, some analyzing and of themselves. And I would just say, people need to get educated. I think most vegans weren't born vegan. At some point, they became humble, knowing that they did something wrong. So why not just repeat that?
Yeah, exactly. We always forget, right, where we came from.
Right. Yeah. All right, last question, I think. Yeah. So if minorities really feel like they aren't represented in the animal rights movement, why don't they just speak out more? Why should the leaders who've done so much for the animals give up their positions?
They just should. They should just stand aside. As far as people of color speaking out more, they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe in a society that harms them. They will go to a veg fest or a conference, maybe excitedly so, and look around and see nobody that looks like them. Maybe they go in anyway, but then they hear remarks that are racist or threatening, nasty. So they don't stay, and I completely understand.
Yeah, and real experience there, because as we've heard so many stories, this is just not a made up thing.
Right.
This is for real, right? Okay. So there we have it from the mouth of a white cisgender male, right? But in all seriousness though, I think it's important for us to recognize our privileges, and not just as individuals, but I think as a movement too, right? Until we all truly commit to doing anti-oppressive work across the board of issues, our movement will continue to be perceived as privileged as a single issue.
Yeah, privilege, because because an outsider sees the leaders of this movement, the people at the forefront who are disproportionately white and male and cisgender, etc. Despite the fact that 80% of the movement is comprised of women, or despite the fact that projects like Black Vegans Rock highlights, has proven that there's plenty of Black vegans who are doing amazing things,
Right.
there are also plenty of queer, gender nonconforming, trans, disabled people, immigrants, and who people from different age groups who are also leaders, but who get very little recognition when compared to the white men.
Yeah. And I guess when you're talking about single issues, because our movement's still insisting on keeping animals' rights separated, right, and isolated from all the other social justice issues, which obviously pushes people away that would otherwise join us. And without people, it's so simple. Without people, we just can't win.
Yeah.
Right?
We talk about this all the time, with other people, how our job as activists for animals is to convince other people to care about animals. Hello.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Did you have any final remarks you want to add, Chris? Or
I guess the one thing I would say to all my white brothers and sisters out there is that please consider being humble. Please consider watching 13th on Netflix. Please consider reading a book. Getting informed and understanding that we can do better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we have our Get Active page too, which lists a whole bunch of pro-intersectional groups that people can just go into one page and see there's tons of people who are doing this kind of work. So if people want to know more about racial justice and veganism, boom, go to the page. There's at least 10, 15 options to choose from. People you can follow, videos you can watch. So I feel the resources are all there.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
And if you're watching this and you have an idea for a new resource, let us know.
Well, this is great.
Awesome.
Chris.
Thank you.
Is it all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.